Welcome everyone to chapter number 4 of phase 2, that is programming with TensorFlow. Today we're going to see how we're going to work with placeholders. A placeholder is simply a variable that we will assign data to at a later date. It allows us to create our operations and build our computation graph without needing the data. Now, what is computation graph? We'll see it over here. You want to read more about placeholders? Please visit this link. Now, TensorFlow uses a data flow graph to represent your computation in terms of dependencies between individual operations. This leads to a low-level programming model in which you first define the data flow graph and then create a TensorFlow session to run parts of the graph across a set of local or remote devices. I have a very nice animation for you. Let me take you towards that. Reloading. So you can see tensors flow like that. So it uses a bottom-up approach, does the calculations one by one, and only after we have started our session and after we run it, things are executed. Going back again. Now there's one more fundamental concept here, machine learning basics, that includes scalars, vectors, matrices, and tensors. Now, I've given you one particular link. The author is Manish Taplial. I'll take you to that particular page. Machine learning involves several types of mathematical objects. Just remember, scalar, vector, matrix, tensor. Scalar is a single number in contrast to most of the objects like vectors, which are usually arrays of multiple numbers. We move on to the next part, that is vector. Right now, it is in a vertical position. It could have been horizontal as well. Vector is an array of numbers. The numbers are arranged in order. We can identify each individual number by its index in that ordering. The next one is a matrix. Let's go through the definition of a matrix. A matrix is a 2D array of numbers, so each element is identified by two indices instead of just one. So that's matrix for you. And finally, we have something called a tensor. Now this is a 3D structure. Let me take you to that particular definition. In the general case, an array of numbers arranged on a regular grid with a variable number of axes is known as a tensor. Now this is a 2D tensor. You can see dimension number 1 here, dimension number 2 here. The reason I'm explaining tensors to you is when we dive into neural networks or convolution neural networks, our tensors could contain 3 channel images, that is of a color image, red, blue and green. Now that you understand the basics, what a scalar is, what a vector is, what a matrix is and what a tensor is, let's move further. Now this is the code that we will use during our programming part. We'll explain each and everything to you when we get started with the code. A few reading resources for you to get familiar with the concepts being taught in this class. Okay, so now we're going to proceed to chapter number 4, how to work with placeholders on the Jupyter notebook. As usual, import TensorFlow as TF. I've run this code. Now, this style of writing is used to define a placeholder. We have to pass in tf.float32. Syntax to define a placeholder. A is equal to tf.placeholder, tf.float32. If you remember, this is how we declare constants and variables. And you cannot declare constants and variables like this. Only a placeholder can be written like that. Now we're going to define our equation. Before that, let me run these lines of code. This we can skip, and I'd like to show you what happens if we run a commented line. Nothing happens, no output, no difference. Now our equation is b is equal to a multiplied by 2. Let us start the session. Now placeholders and scalar values can be changed in real time. I'll show you how this works. Now we have a concept called feed dictionary. It holds the various values of a which can be changed in real time. Let me run this session. Now what has happened is b is equal to a into 2, 7 into 2 is 14, 0 into 2 is 0. What happens if I change this value here? Press shift and enter again. There you go. Values can get changed in real time. Now we're going to make use of placeholders with array values. Sets.run b, feed dictionary. This time we have an array of 4 elements, 2, 4, 6 and 8. And as you can guess, these all will be multiplied by 2. Please do not get confused. This is simple mathematics and not any kind of a dot matrix multiplication. It's a simple multiplication. So 2 times 2, 4, 4 times 2, 8, 6 times 2, 12, 8 times 2 is 16. Now we're going to move on to something a bit more elaborate. This time we got matrix. You can see lots and lots of values. What happens if I run this line of code? Let's do it. Finally, I'm going to run the session b.feedDictionary is equal to dictionary. Can you spot the difference now? In the previous lines of code, we were using feed.dictionary straight into the line of code. But here, we are passing whatever is present in dictionary and putting it in the feed dictionary. Now let me run this line of code. There you go. Simple multiplication by 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. 10, 12, 14, 16 and so on. Finally, we're going to close the session. I hope you enjoyed today's class as well. Practice with different numbers and I'll see you next time with something new. Bye bye. Take care.